Hey guys, welcome back to Cultivation with Christy. I'm Christy. We talked a little bit last time about my health journey and things to come in 2026. Well, it is still cold outside, not quite time to start the garden, though I will be starting seeds probably in the next video. But with all of the holiday eating and sugar and all the things, my gut has not been great. So I'm going to do some juice again. Well, I have been doing juice. Today is day 4. I did have to supplement protein, so it hasn't been all juice like it was last year, but here we are. But also, I wanted to kind of start, a lot of the times, people in real life, I tell them, you know, I make my own bread, I make my own condiments, and they're like, well, I don't have time to do that. Well, you don't have to be a homebody like me to make all your stuff homemade. You just have to plan ahead and get used to it. Obviously, the first time you do something, it's going to take longer or maybe multiple times to get it right before you get the hang of it. But today we're going to start with a condiment. So I need to make some ketchup. I ran out the other day, and so it's time to make ketchup. But first, I gotta make my lunch. I have my little baby lunch juice for today. This one was supposed to have Swiss chard in it, but the last time I made juice with Swiss chard I wasn't a fan, so I just doubled the celery, so it's pretty much just celery juice. And then this one had beets, carrots, cucumber, ginger, well, you saw it, and lemon. This one will be dinner tonight, so I got it prepped so I don't have to dirty this thing twice. And I would usually go ahead and do the morning juice as well, but 1, I'm off tomorrow, and 2, the juices with bell pepper aren't that great, and they're definitely not that great when you make them ahead. I can tolerate them a lot more when I make them fresh. So I'll put this in the fridge, and I'm going to clean this. And all of the pulp I take out to the chickens. I did my dishes before I started this, but that made another point of you don't have to have a bunch of time. A lot of people, you know, cast iron is so high maintenance, yada yada. This pan, and I just put the water in these so I don't let them soak very long, but this pan we used Monday night to cook hamburgers, and I'm just now getting to clean it. So it's fine, and I'll show you what I do to clean them. I usually don't do the voiceover, but here we are. As you can see, I use the chainmail scrubber here to get all of the stuck on pieces. And yes, I do use a little bit of soap, not very much. Then we go to the stove and I put that on medium heat to remove all of the water immediately. This one had hamburger and cheese in it, so it took a little bit more scrubbing. But that's all it is using that chainmail scrubber and getting all those pieces out of the bottom. The black spots on the bottom of your pan is not seasoning. It's gross stuck on food, so you want to make sure that you scrub it really well. And then I go back behind it with that sponge and a little bit of soap just to get all of the food greases off of it. And then I usually dry off the bottom a little bit and then take it to the stove and let it dry while I do the next one. Once they're on the stove, I just leave them there until all that water is evaporated. Then I take the cast iron seasoning oil. Make sure you put something on the handles because they are hot. You will burn yourself. And then you're just going to rub the inside of each cast iron. You can do the outside too if you want to. So you're going to rub it with the seasoning, and then you're going to come behind it and rub all of that off. My stove light doesn't work. It works when it wants to, but you can see I'm rubbing it all over the cast iron, and then I get a clean piece of paper towel and remove it. And you want to do that when it's warm or hot. Just be careful, because then you move it out of the way and then you touch it and you burn yourself. But that's it. That's all there is to it. And that's all there is to it. It's not that difficult. It's not that time consuming. The only caveat is be very careful when they get hot on the stove and you're moving them, because I used to just go ahead and move them onto the wall to cool. And then I burnt my fingers one too many times. And then I moved them off to the side on the stove like I just did. But then all three of them were hot, and I touched, you can see that, but I touched one next to the other one that was hot and burned the snot out of my fingers. So there is one danger of using cast iron, and it's burning yourself. But other than that, the maintenance is not too bad. Now we are going to make some ketchup. All right, and here's what you're gonna need. You probably have all of these things in your house already, except maybe the honey. And of course, I recommend raw honey, but you could also use agave. You're gonna need a 6 ounce. I keep wanting to say 6 ounce can of tomato paste. I did make my own this year, but that's the last one I have that's store-bought in there, so I'm gonna use that up. Some salt, onion powder, garlic powder, vinegar, sugar, and water, and that's it. So let's put this together. All right, you just need half a cup of water, 1/4 of a cup of honey, then your 6 ounce can of tomato paste, 1/2 cup of vinegar, 1 teaspoon of white sugar, 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, an eighth of a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And the good news about this recipe, you can change any of these ingredients. If you get done and it's too vinegary, add a little bit more sugar, add a little bit more garlic powder, less vinegar, all the things. So it's completely adjustable. So now we're going to turn it on medium heat. And then we're just going to stir to combine all the ingredients. And we're going to let it come up to a simmer. And once it's simmering, we'll set the timer. Oh, there's my light that's dying on the oven. We'll set the timer for about 20 minutes and then go from there. But you pretty much just simmer it until it's at your desired consistency. You're not going to want to walk away from this, and you'll see why in a minute, but it pops and bubbles all over the place, so you're going to want to keep moving it. All right, voiceover, because you love to hear my voice as much as I do. I sped this up so you can see, and then I slowed certain places down so you could see what I was doing. So I'm just moving the sauce around. Yep, there's those bubbles popping up, and I'm pretty sure a couple of those got me. But I slow it down, I scrape the sides off, and then I take the spatula and draw it through the middle of the sauce like that to check the consistency. And I slowed it down in several places so you can see how it progresses. So you can kind of see the line when I drag the spatula through, but it's still very watery. So here it's getting a little bit thicker, and there you can see it's holding its shape as I move the spatula down the middle. So we're getting closer, but it would still probably run off your plate, which is not what we want. So here you can see it's holding. When I rake the spatula down the middle of it, that's the consistency I like to see, because it will stay in place on your plate when you go to eat the ketchup. All right, there's your ketchup. See, it's pretty thick. It holds. So I'm gonna let it cool for a couple of minutes and then put it in the bottle. And that's it. Got ketchup. If this date is right, the last time I made ketchup was in August, and it is now January. So this size bottle lasts me and my husband 5 months, and I put it in the fridge and it stays good for a while. Hang on. Sorry, Lincoln had to go outside. So it stays good, probably just as long, well, probably not just as long as store-bought, but it will stay good for as long as you need it to, as long as you store it in the fridge. Now you weirdos that store it in the pantry have to put this in the fridge because it is very much perishable. Now if you buy one of those pH meters and test it and see if the acidity is high enough to be shelf stable, by all means, but I don't have one of those, so it's gonna go in the fridge until the next time we have burgers or fries. Thanks for hanging out, guys.